if you can buy a house right now when the markets and the rates do go down, well, real estate is an interest rate sensitive business. When those rates do get cut, I will refinance. I'm
Yeah.
sure the market will stay stagnant with where I'm buying or at least go up. And I'll have a lower monthly payment, but it's just going to suffocate and make the process that much harder to acquire. So I'm going to tie that back just to investing in real estate. I don't know if rents are going to go up or going to go down, but what I do know is that it's going to be more expensive in 5 years than it is today to build. Wages will be more expensive, rents will likely increase, and cost per door is going to go up.
Yeah.
So you're hedging against the negative aspects of inflation by investing in real estate. And as Mark Twain says, "I'm not making more land, so buy real estate." So this is your opportunity to do so and to kind of put your capital into that and work it. So that's kind of my two cents on the matter.
Hey there, do you want to skip the trial and error in real estate investing? Visit my website, dwanderful.com. I will show you how to do double your income in no time at all. A broke single mom fired from Denny's becomes America's most sought after real estate investor. How does that happen? Well, that's me, Dwan Benton Twyford, aka Dwanderful. But it doesn't stop there. I, along with some amazing guests, are going to teach you everything there is to know about investing. Listen, success is not exclusive. I can teach you, you can have it too. I can share with you. So I want you to join me for season 5 of the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. Cheers. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. I'm your host, Dwan Benton Twyford. I am America's most sought after real estate investor, and I'm so excited to have another new episode for you. As you can see, I've got a very handsome young man over here. So we're going to find out who he is in just a minute. And if you're new to Dwanderful, I took my name Dwan and Wonderful and I made a new word, Dwanderful. So you are now in the Dwanderful zone with me, and we're going to talk, hang out, we're going to have fun. Our motto at Dwanderful is people before profits. So if that's something that resonates with you, I'm your girl. And if you'd like to get some free things like an ebook and some stuff like that, just go to dwanderful.com and opt in. DWANDERFUL. Dwanderful.com. Opt in. Follow me on the socials, Instagram, all the things. I'm on all the things. So today we have a wicked smart man. So you're the wicked smart man of the day. So
Perfect.
this is Craig Grouther. Growther. I got it. Growther. We have to work on our name sometimes here. Dwan's a tough name too. So how are you today, Mr. Craig?
I'm incredible. I'm very happy to be here today to have a nice conversation with you, just to unpack what's going on in the ever-changing real estate market, especially in the times that we're in today.
So much so. So everyone that watches, we have a toast. So everyone grab your drink and you cheers. Thank you for being on the show and spending time with me today. Thank you guys.
Cheers.
And then everyone just, take a deep breath and just, stretch out all the stuff that's going on in your mind and just sit down for a few minutes and hang out with us. And if you want to watch us, because who would not want to watch this? Go on my YouTube channel and you can watch. And if you're driving and listening and running and all those things like that, I highly encourage you to go watch because you get to know people better. And, we're going to have so much fun and you can be more part of the fun if you watch us. All right. So, Craig, we like to just throw our guests straight into the wolves. So what I'm going to have you do is just tell us who you are, all the ways to reach you, socials, emails, whatever you've got, websites, and then just give us like a sentence or two of what you do. And then I'm going to ask you questions and we're going to backtrack and see how you came to be Craig, my wicked smart man. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
what's your deal?
yeah, so grew up in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, which is, of course, in Northern California. Before joining Lone Star Capital, the firm I'm working with right now, I used to be in residential real estate. So I have that residential acumen, kind of that was the foundation to my real estate journey. And then I kind of backfell into getting into the private equity space, doing multifamily acquisitions with a firm that I work with now, Lone Star Capital. We basically buy apartment complexes, typically purchase price size around 30 to $50 million. We've got over a $500 million portfolio right now, and we're looking to grow. And then essentially as to, what I do specifically for the firm is I'm actually on the capital market side where we raise equity for opportunities, and I'm spearheading the capital table, bringing in our investors, finding capital partners, finding institutional equity partners like, Fred of the BlackRocks before, big conglomerates, things like that,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
either maybe smaller bespoke mid-market ones that, write, somewhere between 15 to 20 million, $5 million checks. And then we go as far as down as, $50,000 checks. And kind of one thing that I like to say is I want to give
Hey,
someone.
I'm gonna ask you a bunch of questions. We just want to quick and then tell us how we find you. I need all your info at the very top of my show notes.
Cool. Yeah. So you can find me probably anywhere you find anyone else on the YouTube, just the full name, Craig McGrouther. Or if you go to Lone Star Capital, I'll be able to find us on YouTube as well. Find me on LinkedIn, just full name Craig McGrouther, or on Instagram, as you know. We're there. That's more personal, I would say. But for the meat and potatoes of real estate stuff, you can find me on Facebook or, of course, LinkedIn and YouTube.
And YouTube. Yep, that's it. So you guys put up all kinds of videos and talk about the multi-units and raising the money and all the things. Okay,
Yes,
now I'm gonna ask you, how old are you? Because you look
I'm
very young.
29.
29. I swear to you, every year it's like y'all just keep getting younger and younger and younger. It's like, oh, wish I would have known all those things back when I was the age that you are right now. So that's amazing. All right, so you guys work in the multi-units. So are you in the business of buying the multi-units, or are you in the business of funding them, or are you in the business of bringing in partners and like doing syndications and things like that?
Yes, we buy them and we typically syndicate the equity for the opportunities.
Okay, so because I heard when you start talking about the different checks and levels that come in, there are people that would be brand new and they would say, I thought syndications were only for super wealthy people. And I've interviewed a few people that do syndications. The thing I love about it is it's not necessarily for super wealthy people. You have smaller and you have like accredited. So for a newbie, like really first time they're ever hearing this kind of a syndication concept, explain it briefly what that means.
Yeah. So are you saying for just syndication at large or accreditation? What specifically
No,
would you like me
just
to unpack?
a syndication at large.
Yeah, so essentially what we try to do is basically pool money together, right? So if you think about if you're in New York City, if you're in Texas, if you're in Miami, if you're in, Des Moines, Iowa, you see a beautiful commercial building, right? So of course there's some, REITs and, big institutions that buy these, but then there's people
Uh-huh,
like us who kind of come in or kind of somewhere in the middle of that where we pool together investing investors that might be in their first real estate investment who've never
uh-huh,
invested before with $50,000, or someone who wants to write $1 million check, or a big group that might want to throw in several $1 million into the opportunity. We pull it together, and then the new investor with a $50,000 check can get the fractional interest in that investment. And the beautiful thing is that it's direct to us. There's not a ton of intermediaries need to get paid, and because of that, your returns are generally speaking a little bit more creative and higher than if you were to kind of invest on Wall Street, on Main Street, if you will. So the private sector and way to do this, in our opinion, is the way to go.
now, see, I agree. I did, and I've been investing for almost 35 years. I did not know much about syndication at all until like the last 5 years. It's just not anything that was like in my wheelhouse, or I was around people that were doing it. But I tell you, since I've started my podcast, I've interviewed a few people that do that, and I even, as an investor with a lot of experience, thought it was for people that had like a bunch of money and they had to be accredited, and it was things that, like, the Wall Street people do, and, like, a regular person can't get involved in things like that. So, as I've learned more about it, I was like, "Oh, I didn't even really know that that was a thing."
Yeah, no, and you're totally right. There's so many misnomers pertaining to that. And so there's basically two structures of deals for
Uh-huh,
syndications for what we do. So there's 506Bs and 506Cs. So let's unpack that. A 506C is for an accredited investor. Well, what's an accredited investor? It's someone who's got $1 million net worth outside of their primary residence. So let's say you've got a brokerage account with, $1 million in the S&P 500. Okay, great. Well, then you're
okay.
accredited, or other, syndications, other investments like that, maybe into a hard money account. You name it, there's so many angles out there. Maybe it's in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Those are credit investors. But typically speaking, the deals that we do are 506Bs. 506Bs are for sophisticated investors who we have a pre-existing relationship with. So hypothetically, if we speak today and then we've got a deal coming up in 3 months, since that month-long relationship has been started, you would technically be able to invest in one of our private offerings where you wouldn't have to have $1 million net worth. You basically just have to have $50,000 to meet our minimum check requirement in order to get a seat at the table to invest in an opportunity like what we're doing.
And then they get interest checks monthly,
Yeah, it just depends
or
on the
however it works
opportunity.
out.
Yeah, it just depends on the opportunity. Generally speaking, we're doing monthly checks, monthly distributions, monthly kind of dividends on cash flow on the property. So that's number one. And then secondly, what also happens as well too is we do monthly reporting and then quarterly reporting as well. So
Yeah.
it's a really dialed and buttoned up operation. As I was kind of saying earlier, we want to give the same person or we want to give the same experience to someone to be writing a $10 million check or a $50,000 check with their reporting, with their communication, with their distributions, to make sure that they're getting very good care on their investment.
See, I like that, and like I said, I always knew I knew a couple people that ran some syndication. I don't know, Sidoti. I don't know if you knew Jill Sidoti, but she was like and I think in the RIA, the REIA, the Real Estate Investors Associations, like in that kind of uh, group. She was big into all that, and I just never really truly understood it. And now I'm just like, what a great way for people that are sitting on money, like, there's a million baby boomers, millions and millions and millions sitting on money that don't know what to do with it. There's no money in the stock market, like, it's crazy, and they think, like, "Oh, I don't wanna, like, work on a house. I don't wanna do that, but I wanna park my money somewhere where they can make money." There's just so many people sitting on money that don't know that they can do something like this without having, like you said, like, the $1,000,000.
Without a doubt, you're right. And so let's unpack that actually a bit because that point that you just brought up is super crucial. So there's a multitude of and a spectrum of investors who'd be interested in kind of a syndication as to what we're doing. There's the tired landlord. What I mean by that, well, the people, as you alluded to, they don't want to, change the sinks. They don't want to deal with property management. They don't want to do anything. They want to sit on the beach, sip a Mai Tai, and read their Kindle. There's people like that. Then there's people that have got, money sitting around in their account. They have a distrust with Wall Street, a distrust with trust with the stock market, and they're kind of sick and tired of seeing the volatility that we get, maybe in, mainstream assets with kind of stocks going up and down where there's not really much control of it. And then
Yep,
there's kind of what we have, which is, hey, you can come invest in this deal, have fractional ownership, let us do the hard work, let us manage it, let us collect the rents, and you get all the benefits of real estate exposure without having to do the nonsense and the tedious, nature of fixing sinks, of taking care of, everything going around. Because it's a very comprehensive process. I always say this is kind of one of the kind of taglines that I have, and you're going to appreciate this being such a long investor, but appreciation is not free. Properties require a ton of upkeep, a ton of maintenance to make sure that you actually have value associated there, that, these properties aren't being run down to the ground, that, everything is going well with these. So appreciation is not free. There's a ton of work associated. There's a lot of sorting, accounting, and processes associated there. It's a lot of hard work. And if you're not experienced at that, you really do need a professional to help you out with that, with the best debt structuring, the best equity structuring, the best
yep.
business plan to make sure you get paid for your money. Pay the pros to be the pros.
Now, I agree. I tell people all the time, like, it's not as simple as just, buy a house and fix it up and, get your first little, like, starter home. You need to know about the money and the problems and the repairs and da because people can lose everything in a single deal. And if you have money, but you don't really want to, like, take that risk, you need to get with somebody like this. But it's hard for people to find syndications because y'all can't advertise.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't. You sporadically can if you have a 506C. But, the other thing is we want to make sure that we've got people that are really bought into what we're doing. And typically speaking, that means we want referrals. We want people that have kind of worked with us, have an organic relationship there, as opposed to just spraying and praying, because we don't want every investor to work with Lone Star. We want someone trusts what we're doing, knows that we're going to take good care of them, and knows that, we are putting the best structure possible here. And then just another quick point there, Dwan, pertaining to, why the syndication process. Well, another kind of great thing about it is, getting loans signed, working with lenders is a very comprehensive process. It's
Oh, it
very
is.
intrusive. getting, pushing paperwork, tax returns, the whole nine. Well, as opposed to us, you don't have to worry about any of that. It's literally served up on a platter for you to say yes or no to the opportunity. So it's an incredibly streamlined process.
I agree, and people don't that when I first started investing and after I had made a little bit of money, the very first person that I hired was a bookkeeper because I can't stand paperwork. I don't understand a lot of what was happening. I didn't have any background in business and I was completely overwhelmed by paperwork. It's like, oh my God. And then, everything you need for the closings and the title companies. And I thought, okay, I like everything about real estate except for this piece over here. So that was my first person that I hired was someone that said, listen, please do the paperwork, please do the accounting, do this, do that, get things ready for the closing. I just want to show up. I just want to go there, and I don't mind working on the house. I don't mind any of it. I and to this day, this real stack of paper. I'm just like, oh God, I can just feel my chest clenching. It's like I hate paperwork. So I'm with you on that. And and that's the thing about investing. You don't have to be good at everything. Find what you like and find somebody else that's good at it. Like with what
Yeah,
you're
find
doing.
find yeah, find a team, and you really hit a point there that I want to unpack a little bit more as well that I could not agree with more, which is there's some things in life that you do that you hate doing, but you kind of have to do it. There's some things in your jobs you hate doing that you have to do. There's pieces of real estate that I hate doing and I actually don't want to do and I choose not to do them. Property management and asset management. I don't want to do that. I want to build relationships like what we're doing here. I want to
Yep.
speak and educate investors. I want to talk about the deals and the opportunities. I want to go out, see the opportunities, place cash. I want to do that. I want to build the relationships and harvest that. I want to call. I want to get everyone fired up for an opportunity, but I don't want to do any of that back end stuff. I don't want to do accounting. I don't want to do that at all. So divide and conquer and find the team and find people that are complementary to what you're doing. So I couldn't agree with you more.
I do. I'm still that way. My husband now, we've been married 20 years and we've owned a bunch of buildings and companies and everything together. And every year when it comes around, I'm just like, dude, just hire that. No, he likes paper. He likes math. He likes paper. I'm like, you have at that and I'll just be over here. Like if you need me, yell for me. Now you were talking about doing multi-units. So what would be a typical deal? I'm
Yeah,
coming to you,
typical.
I'm like, "Hey, I heard you on the podcast. I've got $50,000. I've got 100,000 bucks. What are you gonna buy with it?"
Perfect. Yeah. So it's a great question. So what we look for just at Lone Star Capital for my firm is we're looking to buy, deals in that 30 to $50 million price point. And there's three buckets of deals that we buy. So we buy value add opportunities. It's very straightforward. Buy it, fix it, sell it. You've got some sort of mismanagement on the property. You've got maybe some units that are original that need to get turned over. You've got some sort of mismanagement or inefficiency with the property that you're looking to capitalize on. It's a very competitive business because there's no free lunch, but we're looking to buy value add deals. We're looking to buy like core plus deals, which is, a beautiful apartment building, probably 2000s or newer, like 2000, 2000 to 2024. That's below replacement cost, meaning you're buying it for less than what it costs to build in today's market, core plus deals at a discount. And then the third and final deal that we buy in Texas, obviously, there's a lot of high property taxes, but we have relationships with housing authorities to actually eliminate all the property taxes in exchange for affordability. So we get a very big NOI bump. And then not only do we get an NOI bump, but we also, most importantly, preserve affordability, which is a very big issue in this country, especially with all the inflation going on around right now,
Yeah.
with the dollar being really tighter than that before, people getting laid off, being able to preserve affordability while also having us kind of make some dollars off it too. It's called public-private opportunities. It's the best blend. It's the way I think more government things should be run. But those are the three buckets that we buy. We look to kind of give you somewhere between a 14 to an 18% IRR, internal rate of return. And if we're doing a 5-year hold, we're looking to hit kind of that boilerplate 2x equity multiple and try to return, annually between 5 to 7% of cash on cash over the hold period. So let's say if you give us $100,000 in investment, we're looking to give you about 5 to 7 grand a year divided by 12. So it's about, call it $400 to $500 a month in monthly distributions roughly, which is really beneficial because so many of our investors really do rely on this for their monthly income and their
They
livelihood as
do.
the people that have retired and whatnot.
They do. I remember, so my dad is 86 and my family is from Ohio. So where are you at right now? You used to call Lone Star. Are you in Texas?
So we buy in Texas. I'm actually in Oregon right now, funny enough, because it's my brother's wedding. So yeah, we buy exclusively in Texas.
I was like, "It's Lonzo, it's gotta be Texas."
Yes.
But in Ohio, like, and I graduated high school, so hold your seat here, in 1977. So, back in those days, Ohio and Michigan were the car companies. So we were
Hmm.
encouraged to graduate high school, get married, have kids, work at the factory, and work for the man, and that's what you do. So and I got out of high school, I was engaged, I worked at a factory, and like a week into it, I thought, there is no way I'm doing this the rest of my life. This is the worst, miserable. They're hot, you're standing all day. It's like, why would anybody want to work in a factory their whole life? And listen, if you did it, God love you, but it's not for me. But the point of that is my dad and my stepmom, they did that. They worked for the companies and they worked in the factories and then they retired and then they have a lot of their time is in the General Motors stock. And then, all the things happen. I remember my dad calling me and he was probably like 70. So he's 86 now. And he's like, well, Lois and I sat down, we went through everything, and we're literally going to run out of money in 2 years. And I was like, wow, how scary is that when you retire at 60 and you're running around and you're like, oh, we're retired and you've got money, and then all of a sudden, the stocks and the things are what control your income. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, no, based on just everything in the housing and all the things, because we're gonna run out of money. And I'm like, what do you want to do? He's like, well, I don't know. So now after my whole family's like, you need to get a real job. They're like, oh, so tell me about that real estate investing that you do. And that would have been such a great time to put them into syndications, except I didn't know about those yet. So, and I know they're really handy. I was like, well, why don't you guys get a couple rentals in town and you can putter around and work on your rentals and this and that. But they ended up getting a few, maybe 4 or 5 rentals, but they ended up, their monthly income went up to like $10,000 a month and they didn't owe a dollar to anybody. So now they're taking these like world cruises and like, oh, we're so good with our money. It's like, y'all literally said you were running out of money 2 years ago. But that's the people like that. They're depending on that monthly income and that 500 or 400 a month. If they have those in a couple different places, they do rely on that. And people that
Yeah.
did work for all the man, they're losing money left and right. And people that are 70 years old are having to go back and work part time. Are you enjoying this episode? Make sure you don't miss a single solitary episode. Click subscribe, like, follow, all the things so you'll get notifications whenever time a new show comes out. And let your friends know about it too. It's amazing. All right, so if you want to learn more about real estate investing, just reach out to dwanderful.com. I'll send you some free stuff. Back to the show.
Well, to your point there, this is such a fascinating conversation. So Tony Robbins, there's a reel going around on Instagram. For those who like Instagram, I'm sure it's on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok person. I'm a millennial. Don't hold it against me. Not a TikTok guy. But Tony Robbins said this. He's like, if you put $1 million in the stock market 35 years ago, which was obviously 35 years ago, that wasn't $1 million, is actually $1 million. Don't get me started on inflation, but yes, $1 million is $1 million back
I'm
then.
with you.
That $1 million in the stock market would turn into, if you put in the S&P 500, which I'm a big believer in, kind of doing that. Let that work hard for you. Very
Yep.
challenging to pick individual stocks, but if you put that $1 million there, that would turn into $26 million. Conversely, if you put that into just average private equity, that same $1 million over that 35-year period, that would be over $100 million now. So the
Yeah.
amount of hands that is trading for you to make money is a lot. So doing
Yes.
syndications, doing things like this are more direct to the source. So if we're looking to achieve and basically return to you about 5 to 7% cash on our deal, that's basically just a little bit below what the S&P 500 market beta would be giving you, which is
Yeah.
just general, market, stock market appreciation over time, gains. But then you also get the lift on the back end. So it's basically just a substantially more creative, and time, money, compounding interest is really one of the craziest phenomenons for people to be thinking about there. So I couldn't agree with you more. It's just a smoother way to go, and direct ownership has a lot of benefits. I think also something else you mentioned, it's just kind of the premise of kind of being diversified as well. If you've not gotten kind of your hands in that, syndication world into the real estate world, you're doing yourself a disservice. I think just real estate is such a fabulous vehicle for wealth
Yeah.
creation. And also the other, loopholes that are around it. There's two big drivers for really not paying taxes and more accretive returns. So oil and gas is actually the best. We don't invest in that, but it's a little more risky, but oil and gas gets you, really outsized depreciation that anyone
Mhm.
can apply. Um, and then secondly is real estate. So if you provide energy or shelter, you will get deductions and the government will basically incentivize. And the way to think about that is the government doesn't care if you invest in oil and gas or, real estate, but it incentivizes you to do so if you really study and understand the tax code.
Yeah. No, every year when they do like, the how many million, I think Forbes does a list of like, new millionaires or something. And then the number one asset class forever is always real estate. And there's always people that did like, you always have like the Facebook guys or the this or that, but like the number one asset group for new millionaires every year since I think the beginning of time is always in real estate. So it's like, listen, that's how we started our country and that's it. If you provide housing, I tell people all the time, you provide housing for people, you'll always have something happening because that's what people need. And when
Without a
interest
doubt.
rates are high and all the stuff that's happening right now, like our country's on fire. A lot of people can't afford to buy houses. Interest rates are too high, and and it's hard. It's like
Well,
it's hard for
to your
people.
point there, it's I saw something as well on Twitter X, I guess it's called now, from Unusual Whales, which is a very interesting Twitter follow, X follow, if you're familiar with it. And basically, the statistic was it's 80% harder now to buy a home than it was about 4 years ago. So why is that? Well, obviously, so many homes now are owned free and clear. Hedge funds have gone into the marketplace to suck up inventory. So these houses will be going to nice, factory workers, the common person, the average, I guess, income producing household in America. Well, now that's considered ghost inventory, meaning it probably won't ever sell again. It's basically just treated as a commodity or as a stock. It's going to appreciate and also give you a dividend of cash flow. So you're double dipping there on, wealth creation tools that real estate provides. But
Yeah,
if it's going to get that much harder, it's not going to get easier. Things generally rarely go backwards. And you've had so much of the housing market as well that was sucked up by, of course, groups like that when ZERP got really low, and also there's basically, I would say, over 80% of the marketplace as well either owns their house free and clear or has sub 4% interest rate, long-term 30-year
yeah,
fixed rate debt, where those houses, they're not going to trade because you could rent them or keep them because it's too expensive to move elsewhere to that point. So I feel very fortunate. I just sold my house and I'm buying another house right now. My mortgage payment's a lot higher, but I know that if you can buy a house right now when the markets and the rates do go down, well, real estate is an interest rate sensitive business. When those rates do get cut, I will refinance. I'm
yeah.
sure the market will stay stagnant with where I'm buying or at least go up. And I'll have a lower monthly payment, but it's just going to suffocate and make the process that much harder to acquire. So I'm going to tie that back just to investing in real estate. I don't know if rents are going to go up or going to go down, but what I do know is that it's going to be more expensive in 5 years than it is today to build. Wages will be more expensive. Rents will likely increase, and cost per door is going to go up.
Yeah.
So you're hedging against the negative aspects of inflation by investing in real estate. And as Mark Twain says, "I'm not making more land, so buy real estate." So this is your opportunity to do so and to kind of put your capital into that and work it. So that's kind of my two
I
cents on the matter.
Yeah, no, I agree, and, back I don't even know how many years ago the rate was, like, 2.2 there for a minute. Was that,
I
like, 4
mean,
years ago? 5
I
years
sold a house.
ago?
I sold less than that actually. I think it was basically about 2021 is at the interest rate low. I sold a buddy a house. He put 3% down and got a 2.6% interest rate. So, and he put nothing down on the house. I mean, his equity multiple on that, granted, this is a very, rare occasion, but he put, less than 15 grand down and has made over $300,000 in equity on that deal. It's
Oh, yeah.
incredible. And his rate would never exist again and probably won't. So, he's going to let the thing amortize. His payment's nothing. He could live there. He could rent it out. He could Airbnb it. He could do a multitude of things to make it a very profitable investment. And
Yep.
then also provide some shelter, which everyone has to solve for. You cannot, and just generally from real estate perspective, you think about what's going on right now. Well, you can outsource, offices because people are working from home now. You
Yep.
can outsource, many things, right? Retail, well, Amazon's kind of taking that, but you cannot outsource where people live. So, you can't automate that. There's always going to be a need for that. So it just goes back to, providing shelter and buying in the market and letting, the market do its thing, letting American growth happen
Yep.
is the smartest thing you can do.
Yeah, when those interest rates were really low like that, we have a house in Colorado, and I was like, "We're gonna refinance that house," because we were able to refinance it, pull a little money out, use it for some other things, and the rate's like 2.6. It's like, I've never seen it after 30 years, and here it is, so we're gonna take advantage of it because we might not ever see it again, and if we do, it's gonna be a minute. It's gonna be a minute, but, like, you can't get money that cheap.
Yeah, you can't. And you probably won't be able to again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I remember back in, I'm gonna say maybe the 70s or the 80s, uh, how interest rates on houses were like 18%. And people still bought houses, but it's like, oh my God, there's so much interest. This is a crazy amount. And now I don't know what's the interest rate right now, like 7.5 today. Do you know what
So
it is?
yeah, it just depends where you are. I'm getting rate locked on my house and a buy right now at about a 6.8 because my buddy's a wholesale mortgage broker. But generally speaking, they're just a couple basis points above, or, maybe 10, 20 basis points, bips as they call it, above 7%. So probably around 7.1 to 7.3%, depending on your credit score and whatnot. I would say.
And that's not even terrible, you
Well, it's
know?
all about what we've been trained for, right? And the other issue too, as well, is real estate's a very dense, debt sensitive issue. And commercial real estate, there's obviously not a secret that there's a ton of distress going on right now. Well, when interest rates go up, over three times in a very short period, there has to be a workout process that needs to be unpacked and unwind. And unfortunately, that's not going to happen overnight. So it's certainly problematic for the industry, but you know I do know that people are going to need a place to live. I do know that we're buying good real estate with a very good business plan to create value there. And over time, when rates get cut, value creation will be had.
It will be. So if someone's listening to this and this is the first time they're hearing about like a syndication, does someone just call you? Do you have educational calls for people? Like, how would someone learn instead of just saying, "Hey, I heard you on Dwan. I want to give you some money"? Because there has to be some. You have to somehow educate people a little bit on what it is they're actually doing.
Yeah, well, Rob and I, the founder of the firm, and I do a weekly podcast pertaining to what's going on in the world of multifamily commercial real estate.
Uh-huh.
Rob additionally has written published two books that are very niche and specific to commercial real estate. They're bestsellers. I think it's sold over 40,000 copies collectively between the two books. So one of them is called The Definitive Guide to Multifamily Underwriting. One of them is Structuring Debt and Equity for Real Estate. So these are two very great fundamental books that are very lean. They're like about 100 pages. You can crank them out in a day or less. If you're a good reader, you can read it in a week, no problem. Not too comprehensive, no extra fluff there, but those are great resources, as well as our YouTube page. If you follow us on LinkedIn, we're always posting there as well too, to kind of educate, attract, and nurture folks.
That's nice. So they call you up like, "Hey, I want to put some money in. I just want to learn more about it." You've got a couple books, you've got some videos. Do you have and you have a podcast. So people can listen and learn that way. Because a lot of people, I feel like, would do syndication and more people knew about it.
Yeah, no, it's certainly it's funny. I'm so knees deep in the industry. I feel like everyone should know about it. I definitely think it is
But they
known, but I don't.
don't.
Yeah, but the issue is that there's not that much out there. And as much as I think that's the case, I'm proven wrong once more, like doing shows like this, that, not everyone realizes that's there. And I think another kind of factor as well is if it's not with some, mega conglomerate corporation that they've seen, know, like, trust for their whole life, they almost feel like, oh, well, it must not be a good idea. It must be too risky, this, that, where, I understand that, but, if you want to get outsized returns and better economics, it's probably with working with stuff like this, but there
Yeah,
obviously is, it's very easy to lose money in this business, but you can also make money as well. So just do your research, do your homework, go slow into anything, never be too quick or too rushed to make an investment.
yeah, no, I'm with you on that. All right, so we're gonna switch up topics for a minute. What's your favorite band of all time?
That's a great question. I'm gonna have to go with 1975. I love them.
That's the name of the band. Okay, now see right there. I'm showing my age. The band's called 1975.
Yes, they're modern though. I assure you, they're from
How do I not
Manchester,
know
I
that?
believe.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
I'm going to
great,
be on YouTube listening to them today.
as you should.
'Cause almost everyone I've only had, like, 2 people get you're, like, one of 3 that named a band I didn't know, and I stay up with music. I love music. I love music my whole life. I stay up. I've got grandkids. I'm teaching them all the stuff. I was like, "1975. What kind of music is that?"
It's like alternative slash rock.
Nice. Okay, I like
Yeah,
alternative. Okay, well, now see, I've learned something new there myself, so I will. I've had a few people give me a couple that I had never heard of, and I went and listened. I was like, "Wow, I really love that music." That's
I'm
good.
curious. What were the band's names?
One was, orange something, gosh, I'd have to go back through my notes.
Blood Orange, maybe.
Maybe, yes, and there was another one, I can't think of off the top of my head, and I had never, like, never heard of it anywhere, and I thought I listen to lots of music on lots of different places, and even the newer bands, I usually know pretty much a little bit about everybody, even country, and, I didn't know, and I was like, "Wow, okay, I love it," because now I'm gonna listen and I'll probably like it. What's your favorite food?
Specific food or food type?
Food type.
Thai food.
Thai food? Is
Hmm.
that what you said?
Yeah, oh
Thai?
yeah, I love Thai food.
Oh,
Thai
Thai.
food, yeah.
Okay, I
Hmm.
was like, Thai food, what is that? I love Thai food too. This little town that we're in right now in Clinton, they opened up they took an old building. It's just like on my block that I'm on right now. They took an old building and they turned it all into lofts. And the entire downstairs is set up with little kitchens where people can come in and like do a little startup restaurant and s I guess, test the waters before they commit to, like, a building or something like that. So it's kinda like a food court, but not anything like at a mall. These are little people that would like to start a restaurant maybe. Anyway, they just put a Thai food restaurant in there, and I just ate there the other night for the first time. I'm telling you, I think it might have been the best Thai food I've ever had. There's, like, a little grandma that works in there, and she's in the back, and she's making stuff, and she doesn't speak any English, and, like, maybe the grandson is at the front and taking orders, and I was like, "Oh, you guys can never leave the downtown." So now I'm walking down there every day and getting some Thai food. It's all so good, and this little restaurant is amazing.
I
Alright,
love it.
Mr. Craig, what is your favorite time of the day? What's your favorite part of the day? Where's your happy spot?
Oof, wow, that is an incredible question. I really like to work out. I just think the endorphins you get from it and how it sets up the day is super crucial. So I've been trying to be as militant as possible while away from my home. While I'm here in Oregon, and I typically like to do this in general, but try to wake up at like 6:15 every day, wake up, roll out of bed, and just go straight to the treadmill. So I think the mornings are really nice. My energy is highest. I'm the biggest fan. I like to be a productive person.
Yeah,
So certainly, probably, I would say the first half of the day is my favorite part of the day.
I like that. Everyone is so different on their times and what they like and don't like, you see all these people like, "Oh, you gotta get up 4 AM, you gotta work out, stuff," and I was like, no.
It's
6
whatever's good for you. I've just
yeah,
noticed that if it's 4 p.m. for me, like not a.m. but p.m., I'm not going to want to run 30, 40 minutes of like I did today. So I'm not going to want to do it. I'm not interested. But I do find that if I work out to start the day, get my cardio in, I'm more inclined and likely to also go back to the gym, maybe steam sauna, get some weights in,
yep.
and enjoy that there and just kind of double up, if you will.
Yeah, no, I like to work out. If I don't work out first thing, I get up and say, "Oh, I'm gonna do this one thing before I do it," and then that thing turns into 85 phone calls later. It just doesn't get done. Like, I have to do
Yeah.
that before I even look at my phone. It's like, once I'm on there, I'm shot. What is the biggest goal that you are working on right now, and how can the wonderful family help you reach that goal?
Yeah, I think the biggest goal we're looking at right now from a firm level is getting to $1 billion of assets under management. So we're about 600 million right now. Depending on what the market looks like and holds for the next couple of years, that could take us probably 2 years to get there to kind of climb over that. So we're looking for more investors as always. So reach out to me. The email is craig@lscre.com if you're looking to learn more, and I can give you some information happily.
Awesome, I love it. Well, we always like to help and encourage other investors because I've been investing for almost 35 years, and people are like, "Oh, I think a lot of speakers and trainers are like they don't want to send people to other people. They go, "Oh, I want to work with everybody," but it's like no one investor can fulfill all of the things that are out there. So I am a big believer in like, listen, share the wealth. If someone calls me about syndication, I can't help them with that. I'll be like, listen, I don't even know. I don't know. I don't want to know. It's not my thing. But I know a guy named Craig and he's got it going on. So I am all about referring and helping. And that's why we always want to know what your goal is because I want all my family, all y'all out there that are like asking me questions. Where do I put my money? Well, right here's your guy.
Perfect.
Put some money in with what you've got going on. All right. So first, I want to thank you for being on the show. I've got one more question. We're going to take just real quick. If you all like the show today, I want you to do me a favor, and I want you to find the podcast, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, write something, go to my YouTube page, subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things so that every time I put up a new video or a new training, and Craig as well, you are notified and you are in the loop. We always have training for you over here. He has a lot of training over where he's at. And this is all, podcasts are a labor of love. We all work very hard to have podcasts. So all we want you to do is follow and share it with the other people. You don't need to be a secret agent. Tell everyone, like, hey, I heard this podcast. Juan was amazing. Craig was great. Share it around. Help share the wealth because they are a labor of love, don't you think?
I couldn't agree more. It's a lot of effort that goes into these, and it's nice to see it grow and all that good stuff.
I do too. Yeah, I love it too. All right, now I want you to leave us with a parting word of wisdom, but only one single word.
Urgency.
Mm. Okay, so everyone that listens knows you're going to get your little yellow sticky. You're going to write the word urgency. You're going to put it on your mirror. So, urgency is going to be our word of the week in the wonderful universe. So, what does urgency mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like things need to get done accordingly and promptly. And we're in the service business. If you're taking investor capital and anything you do, time's always slipping away. So I don't think you can be out to lunch if you want to really get ahead of life. So although you might be listening to this at lunch, that's fine. But have a goal, be impactful, and make it happen. So I think if you had urgency there to get things done as quickly and as promptly as possible, you can achieve a lot more as opposed to just procrastinating and waiting. So I think urgency is a very high indicator of someone's success.
I think it's a great word. I always like to have, I used to ask people, like, give us a parting word of wisdom. But some people go off for 20 minutes and talk to you about stuff. It's like, okay, listen, let's just get a word. Give me a word. And then what does it mean? And then so everyone knows that listens regularly that that's the word this week. We're going to focus on urgency. And, I'm sure like you, I've met people, for 2 years. Oh, I'm going to get started. I'm going to soon, soon, soon. And it's like they still haven't done anything. It's like, listen, get some urgency, light a little fire there because, you know, today's the best day to start. If you haven't started, today's the best day. All right.
I
Well,
can agree more.
I love your heart and I love your spirit and I love what you do. And I love that you're so young and you're like all in on this and so smart and educated. It's like, you're great. You remind me of my kids. All my kids are millennials and they're all into business and they're all into real estate and they're just so amazing. And then you see other kids that are just like, they're doing nothing. It's like, come on, man. The youth is our future. And right now, all the people that we have up here running everything, they all need to go and get some young, fresh blood in there. So
Couldn't agree more.
we need some new blood. All right, folks, we'll be back next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. And remember that the truth is in the red letters. All right, everybody. Ciao. And Craig, thank you. Come
Thank
back
you.
next week. You just had a taste of the most wonderful real estate podcast ever. So just one more thing before you go. If you laughed, if you learned something, please leave a 5-star review. Don't be a gatekeeper. Share it with everyone that you know. And I'll see you back here next week for the most wonderful real estate podcast ever.